Kickoff from your own 20. Team that scores the 2 points gets it right back, and there goes Ebner. Tristan Ebner in a foot race. Can he do it again? Yes, he can. His second kickoff return for a touchdown tonight. His 4th overall.
This is the Sikkim 365 Radio Baylor Football Tailgate Show, brought to you by
Texas Farm Bureau Insurance, protecting Texans since 1952. IdealMRI.com, premium quality MRIs, convenient, affordable. That's Ideal. Edward Jones Investments, with agents Ben Erlinson, Brad Wilson, Tom Albers, and Cam Heathcott. Makes sense of investing. Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, the team physicians for Baylor Athletics. Our goal is to get you back in the game. Stonewood Dental, your comfort is our priority.
Looking to the end zone, it's got to be a touchdown! Drake Dabney.
Petty Clinic Low T, helping you become the high-performance man you want to be. Pioneer Steel and Pipe, metal buildings, metal roofing, steel and pipe. The Pioneer way since 1943. Baylor University, where lights shine bright. Allen Samuels Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram Fiat. Come by, let's be friends. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131.
Looking for the equalizer. He wants it all on one play, and he's got it. Beautifully designed. Ben Sims, the tight end, into the end zone for the touchdown.
Now here's David Smoak, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoak.
All right, here we go on this Saturday afternoon, really the first full weekend of college football, and there's a couple of teams on upset alert. There was one earlier today, big-time upset alert, but they survived. Baylor plays tonight, 6 o'clock in San Marcos against Texas State, and Baylor is 7-0 all-time against Texas State. 7-0, first series meeting since 2007 in year number 2 of Dave Aranda at his football program. And after 2-7, Paul and Craig, Paul Catalina to my left, Craig Smoak to my right. I know what we expect, or at least what we should see, but that doesn't always work out that way when you're playing your first game. Paul, your thoughts about what you want to see today?
I want to see a handoff to any running back and them get 4 yards straight ahead before they get hit. It's very simple. I just want to see that.
One time, and you're fine.
I just want to see that. Like, that's got to be something that they do. It's something they can't do. I want to see them pick up a 3rd and 1 running the ball. I want to see those things, simple things from the offense that they weren't able to do. I want to see them grow into this new offense, this wide zone offense with Jeff Grimes and Eric Mateos and Chancey Stuckey and Sean Bell, who are all running it. I want to see them do that today against Texas State. A good opponent to start out with when you're rolling out a new quarterback and a new offense. So that's what I want to see. I expect to see the defense play well, but from the offense, I just want to see consistency.
Yeah, I would like to see a defense that lives up to its billing. I'm looking forward to seeing Siaki Ika and the impact that he has, but a defense that has gotten a lot of hype should perform well today against the Texas State offense. It's not exactly, going to blow your doors off. So defensively, just what we've come to expect, but a little bit better than what we've seen because it should be better based on the amount of returning starters and the time with Ron Roberts now. Offensively, I want a bunch of plays of 4 yards and 5 yards, and I want to see like 200 yards rushing or close to that. That would be a great mark for them to hit 200. I want to see an offense, unlike last year, that actually looks like they all know what offense they're running together, and that it's not one that looks as though you've taken 3 different groups of people from 3 different offenses, stuck them together and tried to run one thing, because that's what it felt like last year. So an offense that just actually looks like they know what they're doing to me would be progress. And there's a lot of other things, obviously, as well, but those are just the kind of general takes that I have on what I'd like to see.
The game is on ESPN Plus. We'll be on until 5:30 today, our Sikkim 365 pregame show. Happy birthday to one of our great owners of the site and all the things we do, and Brian Etheridge and his wife here in studio as well.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday, my man. How you doing? And then Jack McKenzie doing overtime today running the mothership from behind the scenes. Today we'll have a couple of segments from during the week, our coverage of Baylor football, including Sam Bradshaw, S11, breaking down X's and O's of Texas State, Baylor, of how each might attack each other. And then my conversation with Baylor head coach Dave Aranda. We'll have that today around 5 o'clock. Sam Bradshaw in this opening hour. So the Big 12 right now, Texas just took the lead on the University of Louisiana, 7-3. Bijan Robinson on a little swing pass wide open, 7-3 over the Raging Cajuns first quarter. West Virginia leads Maryland late second quarter, 21-17. Northern Iowa jumped up on Iowa State early, 7-0 first quarter. Kansas State, good for them, 24-7. They win against Stanford. Skylar Thompson had a couple of rushing touchdowns. And then, of course, the game that was wow. Holy moly, Oklahoma 40 and Tulane 35, and the Sooners almost took it on the chin off the top. And I know, Craig, that had to be dicey to watch that one. Their defense gave up a lot to the quarterback from Willie Fritz in Tulane.
Yeah, so I did some preseason power rankings the other day, and I had Oklahoma at number 1, Iowa State at number 2, like I think probably most people would. And, you know, on paper and everything we had been hearing all year long, or all offseason long was, hey, Spencer Rattler, Heisman Trophy, you know, Marvin Mims at wide receiver, Kennedy Brooks and Eric Gray at running. Like, the offense is going to be fine, right? Defense, they just, you know, they've made such progress, you know, based on last year under Alex Grinch, and we'll see if that carries over. My big question was that going to carry over? And today it did not. Today the defense looked like the Oklahoma defense that has probably cost them some titles in the past. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Spencer Rattler did not look good. I saw somebody put it to where if he's throwing to a wide-open wide receiver, he's got the greatest arm you've ever seen. But if he's actually got to make a decision, you know, throw it in a tight space, it gets dicey. You know, he makes some dicey decisions, and he certainly did today. They got really lucky. I mean, and kudos to Tulane and Willie Fritz. I mean, to be dealing with what they're dealing with all week long. Think you have a home game against Oklahoma coming up, that suddenly turns into a road game. You got to go to Norman, and there's all this hype with OU, and to go in there and punch them in the mouth and nearly knock them off. I mean, that was impressive. So kudos to Tulane. And for Oklahoma, you got to go look in the mirror after this one, I think.
Yeah, I think so. And maybe, and a lot of times that first game, you never know what's going to happen, but it's not like Tulane's played a game or two. There's some of the teams that have already played that you could see a little bit sharper. And then some, it doesn't matter if they play already this year or not.
And I will say, you know, in this opening weekend, we don't want to overreact too much, but there's certainly some concern if you watch Oklahoma only, you know, edge out Tulane the way that they did. But, you know, there's going to be tons of overreactions. It is the first game in a long time for a lot of people, new coaches, new players. New schemes, all that. So we're going to see some rough around the edges, and that'll probably cause some people to want to say, oh, OU has no chance this year. But bottom line, Paul, they won. So that's all you got to do in week 1 is win the game.
They won, and look, they started off, you know, slow and sloppy a little bit last year, and then they turned into a team that was a juggernaut by the end. And maybe that's just what they are. Maybe that's, you know, some teams have an identity, unfortunately, for Oklahoma, if that's the worst thing you can say about them. But that defense has to get a lot better. I think they certainly let their guard down in the second half a little bit. They got it in the second quarter after they were trailing in the first quarter. They got on a roll. And they thought, okay, well, we got it now. Team needs to grow up a little bit. And I would think that other than the other things you said about Spencer Rattler, well, the one thing that everybody wants to see from him in Oklahoma is be the leader of the team. Like, he is very good at being a star.
Yeah, he is.
But he's not completely the best at being the leader of the team yet. And I think that will come, but I think that's maybe Rattler's biggest thing. And today, you know, didn't make me confident that that's any further along.
Well, and he is a departure because he's the first just high school quarterback they've had in a long time. You know, you've had Jalen Hurts come in there. You've had Baker Mayfield come in there. You've had, who am I missing here? Baker Mayfield, Jalen Hurts.
Kyler Murray.
Kyler Murray. Those guys weren't all like seniors that came in, but they had like some maturity about them, some leadership qualities about them. And Spencer Rattler came in just as a 5-star cocky freshman. And I wonder if that's maybe part of it. And, you know, he doesn't have a whole lot of time to figure that role out either because, you know, I think a lot of people expect for this to be his last year, but no, he's got to play far better than he played today. Bottom line is if you're an Oklahoma fan, they won the game. It wasn't sexy by any means, and you're probably still catching your breath, but it's way better than being 0-1 like a bunch of teams will be today.
Well, there's one team that we know you can pretty much expect what you see. That doesn't mean that they won't stub their toe or get stunned at some point, but Alabama's beating the living crap out of Miami. from start to finish. They forced turnovers. Bryce Young has looked good. I just saw Alabama, I think, had to punt. Bryce Young most likely will be just thrown off the team because of that, because they've scored in every way. He's been sharp. 27-0, 2 minutes left, under 2 minutes left in the first half in that one. Oregon, number 11 in the country, is in a 24-24 tie with Fresno State. 6 minutes left in that game. And there was a thrilling game, even though score-wise it may have been like a snoozer because of what we're used to at times. But Penn State survives at home on the road against Wisconsin. 16-10, they pick off the quarterback from Penn State twice inside. I think it was around the 5 to 10-yard line to seal that game. Iowa looks good. Our buddy Timothy on the chat room's got to be thrilled. 21-3 right now.
Nope, 28-3.
28-3. Hawkeyes are blowing out Indiana and Tom Allen. And a lot of expectations for them. I heard a stat. It was stunning to me, and I couldn't quite remember exactly the timeline. This is like the third time that Indiana football has been ranked in the preseason top 25.
I can believe it, honestly.
In basketball, it'd be like 56 times or whatever, maybe 30. But, and so they got a little hype, and they earned it. He's a pretty good coach. They earned it. But at the same time, Iowa's your starting game. That's not easy if you're 5-5 last year, or if you were a team that was one of the surprise stories, not in the Big Ten, but around college football as well.
Yeah, I'm a little bit. Especially Iowa doesn't score 28 points in a game very often, and by design. I mean, like they want to wear you down, and for them to be up 28-3 is pretty shocking.
Yeah, I thought this would be a good game. I'm not totally surprised that Iowa's winning this game. You kind of wondered about Indiana and whether that would carry over or not, and clearly it's. At least today, it's not quite carrying over. So, Iowa's a tough first opponent for anybody. They're a tough last opponent. They're a tough middle-of-the-season opponent, and they're doing their thing today. That's why Kirk Ferentz makes the money that he makes. They might not go win national titles, but they consistently win at a high level, and they do their thing. And unlike some teams, kind of bringing up a recent conversation, that completely feel like, oh, my gosh, we're not in the top of the pecking order. We got to change everything we do. We got to go up tempo. We got to go spread. We got to. Yep. Iowa just does Iowa football, and I appreciate that about them.
Yeah, I do too. I do too as well. That they just methodically kind of grind on you. Cincinnati's blowing out Miami of Ohio. Second quarter is 35-0. Again, some of these scores. Iowa State just kicked a field goal early on in the. I guess second quarter, I think it is 7-3.
Congrats, Big 12 member Cincinnati, or unofficially. But
UCF won. Cincinnati's blowing somebody out, and then Brigham Young. We got to keep up with them as well, along with see what Houston and Texas Tech do tonight at NRG Stadium. So we'll try to keep up with the scores throughout the day on this pregame show with Baylor 6 o'clock kick against Texas State.
And RG3 will be on that Houston and Texas Tech broadcast, I do believe. So you can tune in to hear him. I'm going to be tuning into the game either way, but I saw a tweet from him a little while ago. I think he's on that broadcast.
From Keith Poza on the chat room, I thought that Tulane's quarterback Pratt had a special day, outplayed and even outgritted Rattler. Jimmy B, I want to see an offense for Baylor that is fun to watch. From Jimmy B, Rattler and Howe had subpar performances for top-ranked type Heisman Trophy contenders, and also Scotty B, the Baylor King. I need to see Baylor dominate on the ground and be stout on defense.
Yeah, the running game's going to be the big factor. Although, there's plenty of questions about Gary and throwing the ball too. We haven't seen a whole lot of that. We've seen clips here and there, moments here and there. But, this is our first real look at Gary Bohannon as a quarterback, drive after drive after drive. So, to run the football is going to be big on making him comfortable, giving him some time in the pocket. So, absolutely, you need to see them run the football and play good defense. Those are the two main things. Like I say, you can mention a whole lot of different things, but I think those are the two main things today. If you can't run the football on Texas State, then it's going to be like it has been, in my opinion, because they should have no trouble running the football. Texas State's got a couple of good D linemen, including a transfer from Tech. But, that should not be a wall that they can't break through.
Here's the thing. Win the game, obviously.
Right.
But also win it where you are wearing down a team that's inferior to you with numbers and or who they are, where you take over the game and you can run it at will and then do some things off of that as well. Win the game, win it impressively, but obviously after 2-7, just like off 1-11, man, you just got to win a game. In one of the early games in 2018, remember, they had to kind of prove themselves a little bit. They went down to San Antonio and beat UT San Antonio decisively and kind of show that they can win. That's important after you're 2-7, especially after last year.
Yeah, they need to absolutely just go win these ones you're supposed to win. Like, get that confidence going.
Which ones are they supposed to win besides the first two?
I'd say
the first three.
I'd say the first three.
Yeah, you have Texas Southern next week and then KU. Congratulations.
Yeah.
To KU, they won a game that normally they just couldn't get that kind of win. 17-14. They scored late to beat South Dakota. Good for their opening era of the head coach.
Lance
Leipold. And a nice win for Kansas, 17-14 with the Big 12 as well. All right. Anything else from the opening, let's say, first 6 hours of college football?
Calls
254-339-1122. We'll take them as well.
That Tulane, going back to the Tulane quarterback, he took some hits today.
Yeah, he did. Tough
and
kid.
Just kept getting back up and back up and back up. Wisconsin and Penn State was a really good game, defensive struggle, and Graham Mertz threw a couple of bad picks. Penn State's kicker is going to need to go into therapy because he was not having a good day. And Wisconsin had it teed up for them and then fumbled the ball. They had 1st and goal inside the 5, fumbled a goal, 2nd and goal back behind the 10. They got down to 4th and goal and threw a pick. And again, a pick on 4th and goal or an incomplete pass on 4th and goal doesn't matter at the end of the game. Like, either way, it's – you're not getting the ball. So, but Graham Mertz, didn't have that great of a day. For Penn State, for Baylor fans, for John Lovett, as far as I can tell, he wasn't there.
Really?
Yeah, I saw. Was that you who said? Yeah, John Lovett didn't have any touches that I saw. Penn State had, of course, it's a grinded out game. We don't know exactly how all that's working out, but I didn't see him. It was late in the game with Penn State and in their game with Wisconsin. I looked at the box score. And Lovett did not get a touch. Did not get a touch in the game.
I mean, it doesn't look like a whole lot of guys got touches for them in this game based on the box score I just saw. I'll have to check that.
Wisconsin ran 95 plays and Penn State ran 51.
Well, there you go. There's a big reason probably why. But, yeah, that's a little bit surprising. I mean, he seemed to go there and make that decision pretty quickly. So it seemed like he and Penn State were on the same wavelength in terms of him. Yeah, I mean, they rushed the ball 18 times today.
Yeah, the leading was Noah Kane, who's a guy that they expect to be pretty good. 8 carries, big 48 yards, and he had a long of 34. They had 18 carries in that game.
Yeah, so, I mean, to only have 18 carries, and you have 4 other running backs that got, or at least 3 other running backs that got touches, and, yeah, it's kind of surprising he didn't get one, so don't know what that's about. I guess we'll find out.
Before the call, Paul, Bernie Brown, my take on Oklahoma, if it doesn't get considerably better, they're going to get beat often. Justin Rice, strong defense, competent offense for Baylor needs to be what we see from the Bears. Looking forward to that game tonight. All right, 254-339-1122.
Steven from Virginia, you're on the Bet US caller line. Thanks for your call.
Hey, guys, I'm looking for Baylor to run the ball a lot today. I hope Gary doesn't have to throw more than 15 to 20 times. I wouldn't be surprised if it's a 10-3 or 14-3 game at halftime that ends up being more like 31-6. Last year's defense under Dave Aranda was so good that I think they would beat Texas State that badly on their own, and you bring back 10 and Apu Ika. I just think that's probably the best course of action. And Craig, when you have a second, don't let Smokey talk smoke to you about Oklahoma being tested today, because on Fox College Football's halftime today, I heard that Nebraska got back on track today by beating Fordham. Later, guys.
Steven, we're blocking your number. We're blocking your number. No, I'm not talking about it. I'm glad for Oklahoma. I am. I mean, for Craig, obviously, everyone. But it was not easy. 40-35, but the bottom line is they did get it done, and now you tweak it a little bit along the way and see how good you are. They don't get tested. Who do they have now? I know they have Nebraska in a couple of weeks, so again, they won't be tested for a little bit. But eventually, that schedule will get to them if they don't turn that defense around.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see. It's week 1. I mean, like that's what I was just talking about earlier. Overreacting. I mean, look, I totally agree with you. They've got some problems to fix, but it's game 1. I'd like to see a game 2 before I think like, oh God, the defense is awful and Rattler doesn't have it, and we're going to see that a lot today. But they definitely have issues. There's no doubt about it, and they're, I'm sure, not real thrilled with the way today went.
And look, an emotion is a powerful thing for momentum. Look, Tulane's had a crap week. They've had a really rough week. They've been in Birmingham. They had to bring 2 sets of clothes. They basically had to bug out of New Orleans last week. They've been in Birmingham, not in their homes. They know a bunch of people back home that are struggling.
Right.
And you're going to go play a game that you didn't expect to play in Norman, Oklahoma. And you know what Willie Fritz told them? What the hell, guys? Let's go.
For it,
Let's go.
He's won pretty much everywhere he's been. And he will probably end up going to another school if he has success at all at Tulane because the guy can coach. And you're right. They just rolled it out there and probably felt like no pressure whatsoever at all on this game.
Yeah.
I mean, just come on. We have nothing to lose. Let's go have fun.
And I haven't looked at the latest odds, but last I looked, I think Baylor was a 2-touchdown favorite over Texas State. And I would expect them to win by a lot more than that. But I think you take into account it's the first week. You don't know what's going to happen. You don't know what the Baylor offense is really going to look like. You don't really know, is the defense going to be as good? You assume it will be. So, yeah, I mean, I anticipate Baylor not having problems here with Texas State, although I do think it'll take them, obviously, a little bit of time to separate. But it's the first week. I mean, who the heck really knows?
Yeah, and it's overreaction week, like you said, Craig. And, one of the things I heard after, watching some Michigan highlights was maybe Michigan's found their quarterback in Cade McNamara. And for, there by the grace of God goes every team that's looking for a quarterback, but Michigan has not had one for a long time. And if it's Cade McNamara, great, good for him. But he beat Western Michigan.
But when you had their stretch of what they've been through, and some buzzards are circling a little bit, so it have a little bit of success no matter who it's against. From Lester Lee, the ISU game is strange right now. Northern Iowa leading that game 7-3. From Paula, watching and listening to you guys on the road to San Marcos, happy college football is back full throttle. Let's go. And Jeff Grimm on the chat room, roll Tide.
That's how he says hello.
Yes.
Yeah, I know. That's like
hello.
Domo arigato gozaimashita in Japan. That Japanese, that's roll Tide. That's hello from our good friend Jeff.
Why are you just skipping over the Nebraska thing?
Well, because, they played forward.
A win's a win.
Listen.
The Fordham Fighters from Philly, buddy.
I'm not saying I'm not happy that they won the game. I am. I'm glad. Good. Okay. They beat Fordham, but they did win the game. And that's the first time I think they've played an FCS team like in 10 years. Thank God it was someone like Fordham. All right, when we come back, your calls and text and more, 254-339-1122. A couple of things you need. Not just one, but what you need to see tonight from Baylor in their opening game against Texas State. We'll also update games along the way throughout the show today. And Sam Bradshaw breaks down the X's and O's and more from the studio at 101 Elm Avenue. This is Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports.
The Labor Day sales event is going on now at Allen Samuels. With the all-new 2021 Jeep Grand Cherokee L now arriving and in stock, this beautiful, rugged third-row seat carries the prestigious Jeep heritage. Come in today and see this all-new model and fall in love. Allen Samuels, located at 201 West Loop 340 in Waco.
Come by, let's be friends.
See dealer for details. All offers have credit requirements.
The secret to living your best life is pizza, obviously. Golden crust made from scratch, 3 fresh signature cheeses, and the toppings, crispy Old World pepperoni, savory Italian sausage, bacon. That's called a dream team. Find everything you need to live your best life and more at Marco's Pizza. Owner Bob Mock has been delivering pizza since 2001 and is the proud owner of 4 locations in Waco, Belmead, China Spring, Woodway, and soon to be open in Robinson. Marco's. Pizza lovers get it.
Do you or your kids get nervous about going to the dentist? Stonewood Dental, Dr. Steve Childress, he can help.
I've spent a career taking care of patients who as children had bad experiences, and now they're adults that hate going to the dentist. If I get a kid at 3 years old and they come every 6 months and it's a happy experience, it's normal for them. Now they have an accident at 6 or 7 or 8 at school. Now they have a broken tooth or a trauma, and they have to come here. They're used to lights, they're used to water in their mouth, they're used to experience, they already trust us. It's amazing what we can do with that kid without it being a negative thing. But if I see a 6 or 7 or 8 year old that's never been to the dentist, and now they have a trauma or an unfortunate unexpected toothache, it's harder to do that for that kid and it not be somewhat of a negative experience. So bottom line is I try to teach kids and adults and teenagers and everybody, the way I'd want my family treated, which is where it's a necessary part of life. You just take care of it. It doesn't have to be that big a deal.
Learn more, stonewood-dental.com.
After my first car accident, I feared the biggest damage would be to my wallet. I expected a mountain of bills and a long, drawn-out process. But my Texas Farm Bureau insurance agent was there when I needed her and helped me get back on my feet and in my car in no time. Instead of a hassle, I got reassurance and a quick recovery.
Stop by and see our agents at one of our 3 McLennan County locations.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation.
Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness was built to help give you a chance to enjoy an elite tennis facility, but also to remain fit and reshape your body. And ahead of the curve with the explosion of interest in pickleball with instructors Joe Rosa and Jody Thurman and courts available. Like your body, Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness has gone through its own physical changes. Large flat screens stretched across the weight room with Wi-Fi available with their own app to enjoy news, business, weather, or sports. Beautiful sound of members working out, running, lifting, stretching, group exercise classes throughout each day. Personal trainers Christy London and Randall Corley. New look bar and lounge area with beer and wine with large flat screens. New touchless water fountains outside of each locker room, and both include showers, sauna, and whirlpool, and a world-class tennis courts facility and youth academy led by Pro Britt Coleman. Fitness and tennis merchandise and a tanning bed. I promise you'll look and feel better. You just need to walk through the front door. It's time to react today, not tomorrow, at Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness, Lake Shore Drive in Waco.
This is Sikkim 365 Radio. Text us at 254-339-1122. The Sikkim 365 Radio text line is sponsored by Riverbend Liquor and Wine, with the most extensive variety of craft beer in Waco. A hidden gem on Lakeshore Drive and 19th Street.
254-339-1122 inside the studios of Sikkim 365 Radio. We got some dudes here inside the studio, as you might see. Cooper, Avion, and some guy named Blackmar.
Yeah. Blake's got a fascinating
smells like a barbecue pit.
Yeah, it's just this new cologne.
What's it called?
Pit
Smoke. So good to see them. Everyone's here. The chat room. Jeff Grimm, I think Tulane was auditioning for an invite. So was Fresno State. From Joe Rymi, R-Y-M-I, J.J. McCarthy, in limited play, showed he's a future of Michigan, an elite arm. We just mentioned that. Bernie Brown need to see that Gary Bohannon is the quarterback. I want to see him have some, you see him excel. Of course you do. That's a good point, Bertie. Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, I've been saying that he was named a starter, but that doesn't mean that he's a starter for every game this season. He's got to go out. He earned the starting job. Now he's earned the trust of his teammates. We know that. They seem to love him. Coaches rave about him. But, now you got to go out and perform. And if you can't perform up to task ultimately, not like on the first couple drives or anything, they'll give him plenty of rope, I'm sure. But, you got to perform. You got guys back there that pushed you all the way to the week before the season to be named the starting quarterback. So clearly they have some level of confidence in those guys should they have their number called. But I don't want to see those other guys. I want to see Gary. I want to see Gary lead this team like a QB1 should, and like I think he has all the intangibles to do. But, ultimately we'll see those first steps starting later on this evening.
All right, chat room from our web. I need 4.0 yards per carry from Jeff Grimm, who's an Alabama fan, as I mentioned. Baylor needs to show the offensive line is what we believe they are, and that running the ball when needed won't be a problem.
That'd be nice. Yeah. I mean, they're definitely going to have a focus on running the football today. I mean, everything throughout the spring, throughout the fall has talked about, the violent offense that they love to run. What's the RBO?
Control,
RPO,
RPO.
Not RPO. It's the term they use.
Reliable, violent offense.
Thank you, RBO. And that a lot of that has to do with smacking you in the run game. So I expect to see a lot of that today. I mean, when you have backs like Abram Smith and Treston Ebner, and I don't know what the status of some of the other guys are. I would doubt we would see Squirrel today because we haven't had an update on where he is in his recovery. But, I mean, with Abram and Ebner alone, I expect a big-time performance from the running backs. And I like what I heard about the O-line the last couple of weeks. It seemed like, there's not a set 5 guys or a set this number or whatever, but they have depth. It's not something they've always had, and they put in a lot of work. And Eric Mateo seemed to be pleased with how far they've come. They've obviously still got some more to go, but I think they're in shape to, maybe impress some people later on today. We'll see.
Jay Bird, the Ducks look horrible, but thankfully pulled it
out. They got to win.
Oregon, and it's one of those things that you get pushed. There'll be somebody that gets a shocker, but Oregon did beat Fresno State 31-24 to win the game and to move on to 1-0 on the year. Texas 7-3. Dicker missed a field goal from 45 yards out, but Texas defense right now has controlled Louisiana and their quarterback, who's pretty good. It's 7-3 now, right now, just a little bit more than halfway left in the second quarter.
Iowa State's threatening.
Yeah, Iowa State knocking on the door.
And I'm telling you, Northern Iowa has a football heritage. It's. I mean, they should handle this, especially when you hear about all the hype. They should handle Northern Iowa. But and there's a pass interference call in the end zone, so they'll have it at the 1. But Northern Iowa is one of those teams, like an Appalachian State or whoever.
They beat Iowa State 4 or 5 years ago.
Yeah, so I mean, they can be a little bit dicey here, and so we'll see what happens with that as well. USC's jumped on San Jose State early in the first, midway through the first quarter, 10-0. As again, there's some hopes there because of what they have with Slovis, their quarterback, as well. Now tonight, Baylor, Texas Tech, 6 o'clock start. Texas State. Texas Tech, Houston at NRG in Houston, 6 o'clock. Missouri State at Oklahoma State at 6. And then Duquesne will play at TCU at Amon Carter. That one will kick at about 7 o'clock. So anything else, Paul, about today or anything in college football, you and Craig, and then we're going to go to our next segment with Sam Bradshaw to break it all down.
No, I think one of the things that jumped out about me today was I was thinking that Miami might have a better first half against Alabama, just because there's a lot of eggs in this basket for them as trying to take the next step forward. And Alabama, not bothered by them. They're hurricanes to a lot of people. To Alabama, they're light dusting.
You know what they're looking at? Miami's looking at what Miami used to be. Alabama, and even now, believe it or not, more dominant as well, because they are just a freak show. They're just killing De'Aaron King, who, of course, came back injured last year. Fantastic player. But right now, Alabama's just doing whatever they want. Now, we have not mentioned this. Yesterday was another big day when it comes to the Big 12 and realignment and all the discussion about, do they have a pulse? Do they have a heartbeat? Yesterday they had more than that because of the news that 4 teams, Brigham Young, UCF, Houston, and Cincinnati, are going to do what they can do to join the Big 12. And there has been a lot of back channel discussion, some visits, some officials, some kind of just to check on some things. So how about that news yesterday? News the Big 12 is on the verge of perhaps announcing that those 4 teams will add themselves to the conference once they get out of their exit fees. We're talking about the 3 other than Brigham Young who can join at any moment once they're invited.
What do you ask?
Well, just a reaction to it. I mean, this is a show that's not the one we do during the week, but how important that was, because let's be honest, there's been days when you just did not know about their future.
Yeah, I think it's great news, and I think it's big for the Big 12 to have been as proactive as they were. I wasn't sure what their methodology was going to be as far as the future and their plans, but they seem to have plans put together pretty quickly, which is why Mack Rhodes hadn't been available for the last 3 weeks. I'm sure that's played a part in it, and the others that he's had as advisors. But it's great. I think that the 4 teams make sense. Even Houston, that would have been the one where I'm like, but I mean, you boil it down to having the city of Houston as a part of the conference. I don't buy that they bring a lot of eyeballs from Houston, but I think if they become a winning team in the Big 12, they would grab a lot of eyeballs from Houston, and you still have a footprint there regardless. So they do ultimately make a lot of sense, giving you another Texas team as well. And the other 3 I like a lot. I'm just curious if this is a first wave or the only wave when it comes to expansion, and whether or not we see them perhaps go and add even more in the future, because that's been rumored to perhaps be the case. But, in terms of, they haven't been 12 in forever. So to even be 12 is like an accomplishment in its own right for this conference. So, hey, the name at least makes sense once again. And I do have to mention, Spencer Sanders not playing today for Oklahoma State. I just saw he's in COVID protocol, so he will not be playing for the Cowboys later today.
And Lane Kiffin tested positive, and he's not coaching for Ole Miss in the opener either.
Yeah. For Spencer Sanders, if he didn't have bad luck, he'd have no luck at all. And it's great for the Big 12 to get one back to 12 teams and to be proactive. It does feel like they could have done this 5 years ago. To me, I think that's one thing I thought. If Oklahoma and Texas had been, really serious about making the conference better, then maybe they would have done this 4 years ago. Because, again, the Big 12 is going to have to bring these teams up. I mean, these teams have to work together to make a good conference. I don't think Texas and Oklahoma wanted to do that. And I know it was about splitting money and blah, blah, blah. That sounds to me now, as we've done it, more and more like an excuse is they're going to go to 12 teams because they have to.
What I'm hearing is that this could be chapter 1 of chapter 2. That also what they're trying to do is piece together something that no matter or whenever Oklahoma and Texas move on, that these 4 teams, that those among the Big 12 who are helping make these decisions, that the money, the revenue, TV, streaming, whatever it is, will be able to get them to around the early 20, lower 20s to the mid 20 million range. And that's not what they're getting now, but right now the future looks like you don't know. So at least they're able to get something out of this. And that the teams who join might have to, of course, not only have exit fees, but also might take less ladder. One year goes higher than the other, and the possibility of buy-in as well. So those are some details that have to be ironed out, but that's pretty good news for a conference that most everybody on the chat room for the last month or 5 or 6 weeks, nobody wants to go there. The conference is dead.
Well, shout out to the Texas fan who was really adamant about, enjoy the Southland and enjoy the this or the that. And to the other fans from other fan bases, I didn't catch everybody. I remember one guy in particular, though. Shout out to you. That's why it's fun to see people say stuff online when it's not finalized. Remember when Baylor was getting the death penalty for the last 5 years? Yeah, me too. Remember when that didn't actually happen? Yeah, me too. Remember when this team was this or that? It's like people can just say whatever they want to, and a guy
with no consequences.
With no consequences. So yeah, enjoy the Southland, and yet here we are, and the Big 12's got more teams potentially than it's had in the last, several years. So, I'd rather just wait and see facts happen than be the guy who gets to spout off and feel good for a few likes.
From KFBS, that sounds like a radio station, but 4 different letters. Are you guys going to be in the studio for Baylor home games or at the stadium? We have our tailgate at Brazos Parking that will be there all the time. It's a great atmosphere, all sorts of goodies, so you need to go there right across the street on MLK from the stadium. We will be in the studio almost all of our pregame shows. Not every one of them. We'll travel if we can based on our schedule and also Baylor's schedule, but in the studio most of the time because we have the great facilities for us to be able to do that. And so that's where we are with that.
By the way, before you go to break, not a sports note, but rest in peace to a legend. Willard Scott passed away just now.
Really?
At the age of 87.
I
was kind of hoping he would make it to 100.
Who's the weather guy at NBC?
Al Roker.
I saw during Hurricane, which one? Ida?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they're putting him in danger.
He was on the
older
beach.
Guy. Yeah, ridiculous.
On the railing where there is a walkway, and he was on that railing, and water was being crushing over the railway and knocking him left and right. And here he is. He's like 80.
The TV
He's
networks
doing the updates because that's what networks have now. They love being right in the middle of getting killed in a hurricane.
Yeah.
It's like it brings more eyeballs or something.
I don't know. It must. There's some reason why it's like, there's a tornado 5 feet away. Well, have Sarah do the stand-up. She'll be fine. They just love those shots for some reason, no matter what situation it puts those reporters in. And to have a guy at his age who's had health issues, to have him out there in the middle of a storm like that, it's just...
Well, one, good for you, Al Roker, that you can be that badass. But 2, I blame Jim Cantori, the weather cowboy, the guy who I can tell you from personal experience, when Hurricane Charlie turned right in Tampa, I had a friend who worked at a hotel that Jim Cantori was setting up, and he was legitimately bummed that he wasn't in the middle of that one. He had to get in the car and drive into the hurricane so he could get his good shot, because when they went to the first time, they're like, all right, Jim, how's it? He's like, not that bad.
Some people just built for that,
Here's from the 469. Do y'all think Brigham Young and other schools joining will stay in their current conferences for other sports, or just football, especially Brigham Young being the – no, I think they're coming in. I think they're going to be a part of it full throttle.
If I'm Brigham Young, I want basketball. I want all that. Like, I don't want to stick in the other. Like, especially for the basketball conference, adding those 4 teams is going to be really good.
Think about where the Big 12 is now with Texas and Oklahoma leaving or whatever.
Which doesn't really bring them down in any way, honestly. I mean, lately in basketball.
Yeah. And with whatever happens with Chris Beard and Austin and also with what Moser can do at Norman. They're both really very good coaches.
Yeah.
But you're adding Cincinnati in basketball. You're adding Brigham Young, who's got the huge arena with a tremendous commitment. And then, of course, talking about Houston, a Final Four team.
Brigham Young also came in 17th in the Directors' Cup this year, I believe, which is higher than most of the remaining Big 12 schools.
Yeah, I would think so. Yeah. And then also at the same time, then you have whatever UCF can do with this. Maybe their basketball program actually gets better.
Cincinnati's got a good, good basketball program. I think the only other one you could have brought in that would have upped basketball anymore would have been Memphis, right? But you can't have everybody, and maybe that's round 2. Here in a few months or something. Maybe that's part of the next group of announcements, if there is a next group of announcements. But yeah, in basketball, it should be great. I think you'll see the Big 12 in Olympic sports have a bit more competition now because Texas has kind of owned everything since Nebraska and A&M left. They really just took over in swimming and they were always like the swimming and diving school anyways, but like once those 2 schools in particular left, that really just cleared the way for UT to kind of dominate in a lot of those. So I think some of these schools coming in changes up the rivalries, gives you new rivalries, new locations, new places to go, and also brings some new additions that'll be beneficial for you, not only in football, but also obviously basketball, and I think in a lot of other sports at the same time.
All right, from Jay Bird, Oregon's 3 highest rated recruits ever all forced key fumbles today. Thank God for the 5 stars. For Miles, I'm here in San Marcos. I never realized, I forgot. This is a pretty damn cool place to be in San Marcos, Texas. They got a big campus, lots of students in that school. Texas State Baylor tonight just after 6 o'clock. All right, this is what we'll do. We'll break, come back with Sam Bradshaw. He is an X's and O's analyst on SicEm365.com, breaking down how the 2 teams attack each other, either side of the ball. This is SicEm 365 Radio.
I hate my job, but I don't mind getting up in the morning. I dread each day, but I can't wait to get out of bed. You ask me why, and what I'll say to you is true. Well, you can get breakfast tacos at Rudy's Barbecue. Scrambled eggs and brisket, they ain't fooling around. Salsa drap, son, they're the best in town. Barbecue for breakfast, yes, it's true. Put a smile on your morning at Rudy's Barbecue. Next in line.
Boozers is the wedding ring store and more. If you're ready to get engaged or already married and want to upgrade your wife's ring for a special anniversary, Boozers is the place to go. With the largest selection of premier quality diamond engagement rings and wedding rings in Central Texas. They have 7 cases with over 300 styles of rings from top designers like Natalie Kay. Choose from yellow, white, or rose gold, plus beautiful top quality loose diamonds. With an in-house jewelry, they can also custom make anything you want. Bring in a picture or drawing and let Boozers create your one-of-a-kind pendant or ring. They can even use some of your old gold and diamond jewelry to create something new. At Boozers, you'll find a great selection of quality timepieces, and Boozers is the place for expert watch maintenance and repairs too. They specialize in expert Rolex watch repair for fine jewelry, watches, custom work, and more. Go to Boozers on Valley Mills and Lake Air Drive in Waco.
Boozers, the wedding ring store and more.
Baylor Scott and White Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, the team physicians for Baylor Athletics, diagnosing and treating all sports-related injuries, including concussions. These specialists also provide orthopedic services for athletes and non-athletes alike, whether it's knee or shoulder pain, hand or wrist injuries, orthopedic spine care, and even an arthritis and total joint clinic. Trust the doctors Baylor Athletics trusts. Baylor Scott and White Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics wants to get you back in the game.
The thing about having a naked truck is that you get exposed for the equipment you don't have. Take, for example, your rear end. If you don't have anything back there, you're exposed about what you don't have, and that's a life. However, if you cover that rear end with a hitch, you're telling the world, hey, I got a little junk in my bed, and I'm ready to pull something. A camper, RV, boat, trailer, jet skis, heck, even a bike rack. A hitch says, I have a life beyond driving my truck to and from work, and Pickup Outfitters is the place to get a hitch for your truck, SUV, van, even some cars. We sell and install just about any kind of hitch you need. Receiver hitches from light to heavyweight to pull just about anything. And gooseneck hitches and fifth wheels when you're ready to pull the heavy stuff. And don't forget trailer and brake controller wiring. It's so important to have wiring professionally and correctly installed by the pros at Pickup Outfitters. So it's time to cover that gaping hole in the rear end of your truck with a hitch installed by Pickup Outfitters. Check us out online at createacommotion.com.
Three Nations Brewing Company has 16 different beers on draft with a new beer every Friday. It also offers 2 air-conditioned tap rooms, a large indoor beer hall, a second-floor mezzanine offering a great overview of the brewing company and equipment and patio where you can relax under the shade. Plus, you can now experience the new Three Nations Beer Garden Grill on our shaded patio with socially distanced seating for your enjoyment. Grab a cold beer and enjoy a bite from our freshly prepared and delicious menu. Street tacos, quesadillas, freshly cooked burgers and dogs, and veggie burgers too. State Fair tornado fries, nachos, and so much more, all prepared and cooked on site. So come visit the award-winning Three Nations Brewing Company on East Vandergrift off I-35 in Carrollton.
Life is back on, sports bettors, and BetUS has your NBA, NHL, Major League Baseball, UFC, PGA, and yes, NFL betting lines up for their 27th year and live betting on all of it. Log into BetUS.com or call 800-792-3887. That's 800-79-BETUS. BetUS for 125% bonuses with promo code SICK'EM125. Customer service pros are ready to get your phone, social, and online sports betting kickoff started now. Play with the proven mainstay in the industry. BetUS. You bet, you win, you get paid. BetUS.com. Use promo code SICK'EM125.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio. Have you subscribed to our YouTube channel? Search 365 Sports on YouTube.
Care of some of the elites of that particular level. We're now joined by, well, he's the guru, the X's and O's. He's the one that allows us to take whatever the heck we watch when it comes to games and or what we're about to watch and break it down and make sense. Sam Bradshaw, S11 on Sikkim 365 Radio. Sam, thanks for your time as always. So you don't really know much, do you, about what Texas State can do with all the transfers, or do you just go back, this is what they've done and it's just going to do it with better people?
Thanks for having me on, and I think the answer is going to be a lot more of this is what they've done, they're going to do it with better people for the most part. They lost 2 of their better receivers, but aside from that, they've upgraded 60% of their offensive line, 60% of their secondary, both due simply to transfers. And then on the defensive line, they've got a Texas Tech transfer at nose tackle, and then they get their starter at defensive tackle back, to the point that you've added 2 more bodies onto the rotation there that allows them to push some of the guys that they were counting on and actually been pretty productive for them out of the starting lineup. So they've got a few guys there that they can lean on a little bit. So it's going to be a little difficult to project, because how well does that offensive line protect against Ika? How do they do when Terrell Bernard's coming on a blitz? Or how do they handle Petrie off the edge? You know, any number of matchups. It's tough to get a real finger on the pulse of that because there's so many new faces.
What do you think when you watch Brady McBride, and would it surprise you at all to see Tyler Vitt as well?
Well, with McBride, he's not all that big, but it kind of reminds me of Mayfield in the sense that he's not going to win any 4x100 races for you, but he's viable enough as a runner. But he just buys so much time, and he is unafraid to throw it into any window. That works against him sometimes, but more often than not, it's working in Texas State's favor, which is why he's the guy that got the nod. He tends to protect the ball a little better than Vitt, who has a little bit more mobility than McBride does, at least in terms of being a true running threat. But they've shown that they can move the ball with both of them. But it's going to be up to Dave Aranda and Ron Roberts on their defensive calls to find ways to get pressure on these guys with relatively few. Use some creepers, use some simulated pressures to where you're able to do whatever you can to keep these skill guys from potentially making this more of a game than it needs to be.
Sam, we've discussed Gary Bohannon as the starting quarterback, and we saw him earlier this week. Craig was at the media session, and we put it up and ran with that. It seemed like we hadn't seen much of him, obviously, because of the lack of snaps, even though on occasion he might be available for this or that. He just seemed like he was a grown man and at peace with everything. How about you?
Well, I think having a guy that's been in the system as long as he has should give you a fair amount of comfort going into a game like this. Even if he hasn't necessarily been on the field or starting, you've got a guy that he's been through the off seasons. He's studied. He's worked. So regardless of what his ceiling may or may not be, and athletically he's got a big one, the issue you've got is just you're always worried about how are they going to perform. And you tend to see how veterans outperform young guys in this regard a lot of the time, simply because they've been around. They've seen it. It may not be in live game action, but they've seen unique pressures. They've seen how you have to be aware of the protections. They've seen how you have to look off certain defenders. They've seen it. And I think that Baylor will catch some of the benefit of that with Bohannon.
So I'm sure you looked at the depth chart, and for anybody looking for a whole lot of clarity on the offensive line, it wasn't really there. We should have some more after Saturday, but it's obviously going to be a bit of a group effort. Sam, what are your thoughts on the O-line entering tomorrow's game?
I'm just looking to see them play a clean game. I think that was much more of an issue last fall than any raw talent disparity you saw. Because, you're talking about a lot of those same guys were back from 2019, and the one new addition they had last year was an all Pac-12 performer. And, you lost Bettier from last year and you lost Burton, but you also brought in 2 transfers. You still have Connor Galvin, who you feel pretty good about, Xavier Newman, who's been solid for a while for you. And you've got a lot of the same faces in there that you think can potentially develop into something really good athletically. You've got to think that you have a pretty good group by now. And, with a new approach where it's all dedicated to simplifying, being able to get reps in and being able to know what you're doing, do it well, rather than try and be a master of all trades as they were trying to do last fall, I think it should pay off. I'm not expecting them to have the kind of offensive line they had in 2015, but at the same time, I expect some significant improvement, particularly against Texas State, who really struggled against the run.
All right, so in the end, who has the most touches? Obviously, you would think Ebner, but then Abram might be the one that gets the ball quite a bit when they run the ball, and if they have the lead, you hope that that's the case. In the end, counting even returns, Ebner or Abram Smith have the most touches?
Carries, I'd probably say Abram Smith. Touches, when you add in returns and you add in receptions, I think Ebner might squeak it out, but honestly haven't really thought about the breakdown there. I've been thinking more just how are you going to handle certain fronts.
Well, that's what we have you for, and I just slipped in like a curveball on you because I just felt like I needed to find out if you could take the curveball and take it to right field, and you did. Thank you, Paul. Craig?
Yeah, I guess Sam. Just is there? I mean, I think it's kind of we've been talking about the same stuff so much. I mean, it's on the O-line, obviously, a new quarterback. I mean, just as far as what your expectations are tomorrow and how the game plays out. Do you think this is eke it away in the fourth quarter? Pull away? Like, what are you just expecting in terms of just generally with the game tomorrow?
My prediction on the site was 31-21. The numbers that I was using to project it came out a lot more favorable than that. But I just think first game, you're going to have sputters. Somebody's going to miss an assignment and get a holding call. Or Gary's going to miss a throw that he wouldn't at midseason. And then on the other end, and then on the other side of the ball, I have a lot of respect for Spavital as an offensive play caller. He's going to have a couple things dialed up, and I think he'll get a cheap touchdown, maybe 2, off of that. And they'll keep it closer than it needs to be, but I don't think the outcome's going to be in doubt.
Thank you, Sam. Appreciate your time. Sam Bradshaw. And then the good news is next week we have evidence.
To talk about. Yeah,
we have actual evidence. We have X's and O's. We have truth serum, film don't lie, all of that. And then we'll discuss the next upcoming opponent with Texas Southern. Sam, thank you so much. I want to.
The Labor Day sales event is going on now at Allen Samuels with the new 2021 Ram 1500 Quad Cab Lone Star. Pick out the 1500 Lone Star Quad Crew Cab, which offers style and dependability for any job. Come see this incredible full-size pickup truck today. It's the Labor Day sales event going on now at Allen Samuels, 201 West Loop 340 in Waco.
Come by. Let's be friends.
See dealer for details. All offers have credit requirements.
Riverbend Liquor and Wine, Lakeshore Drive at North 19th Street in Waco is a hidden gem. They've got a great selection of spirits, wine, and the most extensive selection of craft beer in Waco in their gorgeous walk-in fridge. And they have an amazing array of high-end bourbons like Pinhook, Weller, Buffalo Trace, Brush Creek, Hotel, Garrison Brothers, Thomas S. Moore, Hooten Young, and Bardstown. Great customer service and a convenient and speedy drive-through window. Riverbend Liquor and Wine. Find out more on Facebook and Instagram.
How did Edward Jones become one of the biggest financial service companies in the world? By not acting that way. Financial strategies, one-on-one advice, it's a big difference. And that's why Brad Wilson, your Edward Jones financial advisor, makes sense of investing. Experience the difference for yourself. Brad Wilson, 250 Sharon Drive in Woodway, 254-776-4337. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Boots add protection. Good boots help you climb better and move forward faster. And when your son or daughter steps into the boots of a U.S. Army officer, they also learn how to lead. In these boots, they'll gain more confidence with expert training in one of more than 150 occupational specialties. In these boots, they'll stand a little taller and lead a team with diverse backgrounds and areas of expertise to successfully accomplish whatever challenge comes next. In these boots, they'll earn respect with valuable experience from day one that will give them solid footing for success into the future. Highly qualified candidates who earn a spot on our team can receive comprehensive health care coverage, college tuition assistance, and a bonus of up to $40,000. See all the things your son or daughter can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
At Baylor University, students can shine in their own way. Or should we say their own ways? Because there's no limit to the ways Baylor students make the world a brighter place. Whether they're leading a student organization or following a higher calling, getting advice from faculty, or taking part in world-class research, pursuing their dreams, or working toward their dream job, students find their place to shine at Baylor, where lights shine bright.
From the first workout to the last practice, sports is an incredible challenge. Hi, this is Dan Engel with the First National Bank of Central Texas, and we're proud to support each athlete, every parent, and our educators. From families, small businesses, to the biggest industry, we're here to help. With remarkable products like instant issue debit cards free at all of our banking centers, we've got banking ideas that fuel big dreams. The First National Bank of Central Texas. Familiar faces making local decisions.
Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio.
The Sikkim 365 Radio app is sponsored by Allen Samuels Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram Fiat in Waco. Your friend in the car business at Loop 340 and east of 84. Come by. Let's be friends.
All right, back inside studio. Blake Blackmar, former Baylor offensive lineman. He's got... I don't think they can see that, Paul, because of the foil just shining. Here comes Jack McKenzie's going to focus in on it. Here we go, Jack. I don't want to knock it on the floor. That's okay. Here, chicken wings. There's obviously the, what do you call it?
The poppers.
Poppers. It's delicious. He's out there in the parking lot, in the interior parking lot of the, what are the condos of which we're on the bottom floor here on MLK and 101 Elm, just cooking away everything.
And we're going to have some beef cheek tacos here in a second, some barbacoa. He's got ribs out there. He's got
got
all
there's like
manner of
50
ribs.
poppers. He's got a lot of bacon wrap jalapenos with some cheese and stuff as well. By the way, a couple of games, Big 12, Texas leads 14-3 over Louisiana. That game late in the second quarter. Hudson Card has looked really good. He's been sharp. 12 of 18, 65 yards passing, 2 touchdowns. And Iowa State still, 10-10 in that game with Northern Iowa as well. We've got a couple of notes on the chat room.
This Alabama-Miami game, just not going at all.
94-yard catch and run to yet one of the other wide receivers that looks just like Devontae Smith. And Bryce Young putting up 34 on Miami. It's 34-3.
Yeah, Miami, I just can't imagine games like that where you think like, okay, well, this is where we're going to show who we're going to be. Maybe you don't win it, but maybe you can show people that you can hang. And they're still a lot of players away.
Yeah, and they'll be doing that to a lot of teams. Of course, there'll be somebody out of nowhere that takes them down to the wire, you would think, and then a couple of teams you expect to. From Chris Hall, my fingers are crossed the Big 12 actually adds at least 2 more Eastern time zone schools. I'm looking forward to seeing Baylor in Orlando. Chris, thank you for watching us on 365 Sports on YouTube as well.
Yeah, that'll be a fun road trip, and get ready. Magnolia will be popping with all the new visitors, I'm sure, here in Waco. That'll be one of the big attractions for folks. But yeah, Orlando will be a fun spot. Cincinnati, Provo.
Can we get some Disney World reciprocity? Like if we can hook you up with some Magnolia, which is free to walk into. Can people hook us up with some Disney World?
Yeah, I don't know.
There's a cost difference.
Well, we were there for a bowl game, and I never saw those.
No, well,
that was the Johnny Jefferson bowl game when he ran for 299 yards and destroyed
that was
North Carolina.
That was also the bowl game that employed one person as the media relations person.
Yeah, I sent an email to him because I was stunned because they had another bowl game that they had to deal with. And I mean, he chewed me out for asking a couple of things about, just a couple of things for us while we were there. I felt like I had asked for $1 million, and I don't think I asked for any money whatsoever. Paula, on her way, I think probably there, showing us I got the iPad out on the dashboard, watching the show. Getting close to San Marcos to cheer on Baylor to victory over Texas State, listening to Craig Smoak, Paul Catalina, David Smoak for the latest on the Bears in college football. So, Paula, thank you very much for what you do listening to our show as well. Here's one more from the story of the day. Tulane. The best storyline for the Big 12 is K-State. Solid wins, mid-tier Big 12 teams against a Power 5 opponent. They are sorely needed. And that's true, that they need to win the games like that against others around the Power 5. Doesn't mean that deals with anything realignment, but it doesn't hurt when Kansas State can beat Stanford.
Yeah, no, it doesn't. And Stanford, I think, was crabby. They didn't like that 9 o'clock Pacific time kickoff they had. They've been up all night reading Shakespeare and Kant and stuff. They're just
counting their endowment money.
Yeah.
Is that what they're doing? All right, let's come back. We're going to hear from Baylor head coach Dave Aranda. We'll take you up until 5:30. Baylor and Texas State, and we continue on Sikkim 365 Radio.
The Labor Day sales event is going on now at Allen Samuels. With the all-new 2021 Jeep Grand Cherokee L now arriving and in stock, this beautiful, rugged third-row seat carries the prestigious Jeep heritage. Come in today and see this all-new model and fall in love. Allen Samuels, located at 201 West Loop 340 in Waco.
Come by, let's be friends.
See dealer for details. All offers have credit requirements.
The secret to living your best life is pizza, obviously. Golden crust made from scratch, 3 fresh signature cheeses, and the toppings, crispy old world pepperoni, savory Italian sausage, bacon. That's called a dream team. Find everything you need to live your best life and more at Marco's Pizza. Owner Bob Mock has been delivering pizza since 2001 and is the proud owner of 4 locations in Waco, Belmead, China Spring, Woodway, and soon to be open in Robinson. Marco's. Pizza lovers get it.
Do you or your kids get nervous about going to the dentist? Stonewood Dental. Dr. Steve Childress, he can help.
I've spent a career taking care of patients who as children had bad experiences, and now they're adults that hate going to the dentist. If I get a kid at 3 years old and they come every 6 months, and it's a happy experience. It's normal for them. Now they have an accident at 6 or 7 or 8 at school. Now they have a broken tooth or a trauma, and they have to come here. They're used to lights, they're used to water in their mouth, they're used to experience, they already trust us. It's amazing what we can do with that kid without it being a negative thing. But if I see a 6 or 7 or 8-year-old that's never been to the dentist, and now they have a trauma or an unfortunate unexpected toothache, it's harder to do that for that kid and it not be somewhat of a negative experience. So bottom line is I try to teach kids and adults and teenagers and everybody the way I'd want my family treated, which is where it's a necessary part of life. You just take care of it. It doesn't have to be that big a deal.
Learn more, stonewood-dental.com.
After my first car accident, I feared the biggest damage would be to my wallet. I expected a mountain of bills and a long, drawn-out process. But my Texas Farm Bureau insurance agent was there when I needed her and helped me get back on my feet and in my car in no time. Instead of a hassle, I got reassurance and a quick recovery.
Stop by and see our agents at one of our 3 McLennan County locations.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation.
Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness was built to help give you a chance to enjoy an elite tennis facility, but also to remain fit and reshape your body. And ahead of the curve with the explosion of interest in pickleball with instructors Joe Rosa and Jody Thurman and courts available. Like your body, Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness has gone through its own physical changes. Large flat screen stretched across the weight room with Wi-Fi available with their own app to enjoy news, business, weather, or sports. Beautiful sound of members working out, running, lifting, stretching, group exercise classes throughout each day. Personal trainers Christy London and Randall Corley. New look bar and lounge area with beer and wine with large flat screens. New touchless water fountains outside of each locker room, and both include shower, sauna, and whirlpool, and a world-class tennis courts facility and youth academy led by Pro Britt Coleman. Fitness and tennis merchandise and a tanning bed. I promise you'll look and feel better. You just need to walk through the front door. It's time to react today, not tomorrow, at Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness, Lake Shore Drive in Waco.
This is Sikkim 365 Radio. Text us at 254-339-1122. The Sikkim 365 Radio text line is sponsored by Riverbend Liquor and Wine, with the most extensive variety of craft beer in Waco. A hidden gem on Lakeshore Drive and 19th Street.
Smoak.
Dave Aranda, Baylor football coach with me, David Smoak on Sikkim 365 Radio. Can you try to even explain the night and day of where you are as a program as you enter this first game compared to a year ago?
I feel really good. I appreciate that question. I look back to last year and a lot of hard lessons, a lot of things that I'm proud of. A few things I sure wish I could have done better, but I've learned from. And I think when you can stand in maybe that shame or embarrassment or that learning space, you can get better. And so I think I feel stronger now sitting here with you because of the standing in that space and looking at all of that failure kind of face to face, back then. And so when you can own stuff and admit to it and then work on it, you can grow from it. And so really excited about just moving forward. But yeah, there's quite a bit of difference from now to then.
Shame and embarrassed, that's a pretty strong word. Were there nights where you didn't sleep or just
yeah. So I think all that you go from you always have high expectations of yourself, and you always work to achieve. And I think not always knowing. There's things I think, especially in a new role, as much as you work, I think that's one of my key learnings is when Jeremiah Dickey went to Boise State and they hired a new coach, and almost really kind of in a similar path as me. And so, talked to him when he accepted a job. And one of the things I said to him, I said, no matter how much you prepare, there's going to be stuff that is going to, you're not going to be ready for. And you just have to, you can't take it personal, right? You just have to learn from it, and you got to own it. And you have to be the face of it and grow from it. Otherwise, everyone's watching. And so whatever you say you're going to be is one thing. It's really how you handle those moments. That's what it is. And so that would be a key learning from last year to this.
Did you ever say, man, I may not be able to do this? Did that ever come into play?
No. I just wish that there would be things that when it was defensive coordinator and it was linebacker coach and it was more technical football, just so much time spent on the technical part. And when you get to this chair, very, very limited, if any, technical aspects to it. Very limited, much more people and people. And so I think, I wish, in terms of your question, I wish some of those previous years and learnings was less technical and more people.
You have been called a deep thinker. You can philosophize. You do a lot of that. Do you feel like sometimes you've had to learn if anyone's listening or understanding you? Mm-hmm. Because you do look at things in a lot of times a very deep space.
Yeah, no, I do. I think I joke about it with the staff or with our players, and so I try to use movie clips quite a bit, or maybe some game example or metaphor somehow. It's usually the best ways. If I get to talking too much, then I could have a negative effect on what I was trying to communicate.
The day before your scrimmage a week ago, not last weekend, but the week, not the thing, but the week, you said, I asked you weren't ready to name a starter, and I asked you if you played tomorrow, mm-hmm. would you have one? And you said no. Mm-hmm. And I don't know what that, that means you didn't know at that time. So obviously, Gary, was he the leader in the clubhouse? You just needed to see him validate that?
Yes. Yeah, I think that second scrimmage was one where it was, I thought, well, let me go back. I think the first scrimmage was, the first time it was live for the entire practice. I think we had 2 or 3 live periods prior to that, but it was the first time it was live. It was crossing the bridge for the first time, kind of the stage in a limited way, but the biggest stage at that point. I think the second scrimmage was our final one, and really it was taking the lessons from the first and, having the ability to see really what you're going to see from the defense. There's not new things still coming at you. And so can you take what you've learned, process it, and go? And so that second scrimmage was really a big piece.
How did the teammates react to him? Not that they aren't supportive of Blake or Jacob or Kyron or whoever else, but how did the teammates react to that? Was there any kind of a pulse there? And how did the others react to the decision?
They're very excited for Gary. And I give a lot of credit to Sean for the way Jacob has been and Blake has been. And Kyron, it's hard for Kyron. Kyron's been, his high school career has been the guy. Mm-hmm. And now he's here and there's a competition and he's kind of on the outside of it. And so it's hard to process that. And Kyron's been great. And so I think Sean, and one of the benefits of being a former player at that position is just knowing all that goes into it and just the attitudes and the mental headspace that and how turbulent that can be with good and bad. And so I think Sean has been able to navigate it great. The team really took to Gary, and so it was good to see.
You made emphatic, quick decisions on your staff as soon as the season was over last year, and now that has, of course, been changed into the new coming coaches in the offense, and Jeff and Eric, and obviously Sean and Chancey and Kev, and all of them. You know, you feel like this staff is on one page, that also was part of what you wanted to see?
I do. I think, you know, there'd be people that, and there would be, maybe analysts, or it would be GAs, but just throughout the years, whether it was Wisconsin or LSU, there would be hirings that I would make, right? And I just remember, as you go through that, I think so much of it was, you know, I just go back in my frame of mind at that point. It was all about, coach over person. And so it was like, you know, he's from this school. He was taught by this guy. He knows this system, right? He can be in the booth and make these judgments because he was trained that way. And so, I don't know, it was a pretty high, looking back, I didn't really see like a misjudgment in hiring guys. And so you could infer from that you have a knack at that, and then to be in this role, it is the view is the person is more important than the coach, or more important than the player, and that makes hiring so incredibly more complex and difficult when you're really looking for that right fit and that right type of communication and that right heart set and that right level of empathy for other people and kind of selfless leader. And so almost two different worlds, right? One has nothing to do with the other. And so I think there's a fair amount of learning from me just in that respect, but I feel like we've got some really good dudes on this staff, and we've worked really hard that we all respect and know each other.
Dave Aranda, Baylor football coach, a couple more questions. Last year was mentally and physically tough. Mm-hmm. Which are you stronger today as a football team, mentally or physically? Because you changed the strength and conditioning as well, but they went through a lot.
I think we're both. I know it's a good question. I think we're both. I think the strength piece is important because I think it gives guys confidence and it gives them challenges where they've got to exert and they've got to sacrifice and they've got to push themselves, and then they have to encourage and help their teammates. And then I think the mental side of it is going to be, I'm the whatever number head coach, right? Grimes and Roberts are the whatever number coordinator, right? Eric Mateos is the whatever number O-line coach. And so for us as coaches now to see that is the reality, and that it ain't all about you, dude, as a coach coming in here saying, I want this, I want that. You need to know where they're coming from, and this is their experience, and they ain't just going to take to you because, they had this dude last year, and now who's to say you ain't going to be here, right? And so, to understand that and approach it in a way that you're connecting as people and not as a player and coach, I think is way strong. And I think their mental space is stronger because of it.
You now have a win-loss record. You've never had that before as a coordinator, even though you were attached to the great success in places in the national title, Wisconsin, etc. Mm-hmm. What's it like that you have a record, like win-loss record next to your name?
Yeah, I've never looked at it, which is probably good.
Well, I mean, a lot of,
which is probably good. But I
didn't bring it up like that.
No, but but I never look at it. And, I think there's... I think whether it was at the coordinator spots too, I think I've always, so like when I go home to my house, so my wife's up there, my daughter is to my right, my 2 girls and my son. And so when I go home, it's like, Dave, did you bring the trash can in? Dave, say hi to Jalen. This is her friend. This is their, young life. They've got this. And then Ronan wants to go play catch. And there's almost like nothing with football with Baylor football, nothing. And so I think, and it's always been that way. And I think, that probably started, I think, with me just not bringing stuff home. But it's almost tripled down now that our kids are at the age where their lives are fully in bloom, right, with their own relationships and friends and everything else. And so I think for me that keeps, I try not to, I think there was a time where when I would drive from the office at LSU, particularly from the office back and forth, I would listen to sports talk radio, and I think, I don't anymore. And I think your ability to kind of put up guardrails of like, this is who I am, this is who I want to be, right? This is how I want to show up in these instances, right? These are the values I want to live through. And I think the more you can keep it lined up like that and kind of keep, the inside and the outside gives you the best chance to show up the way you want to show up. And so my family helps me because they can make the real stuff real quick. And then I think, just the discipline of just whether it's a book on tape or it's something to not let your mind stray, because I think all that stuff can. And I think we've all seen it happen to people.
Good luck this week.
Thank you.
Dave Aranda, Baylor football coach, with me. David Smoak on Sikkim 365 Radio.
Petty Clinic Low T. Dr. Kent Petty can help you become the high-performance man that you...
I hate my job, but I don't mind getting up in the morning. I dread each day, but I can't wait to get out of bed. You ask me why, and what I'll say to you is true. Well, you can get breakfast tacos at Rudy's Barbecue. Scrambled eggs and brisket, they ain't fooling around. Salsa drap, son, they're the best in town. Barbecue for breakfast, yes, it's true. Put a smile on your morning at Rudy's Barbecue. Next in line.
Boozers is the wedding ring store and more. If you're ready to get engaged or already married and want to upgrade your wife's ring for a special anniversary, Boozers is the place to go. With the largest selection of premier quality diamond engagement rings and wedding rings in Central Texas. They have 7 cases with over 300 styles of rings from top designers like Natalie Kay. Choose from yellow, white, or rose gold, plus beautiful top quality loose diamonds. With an in-house jewelry, they can also custom make anything you want. Bring in a picture or drawing and let Boozers create your one-of-a-kind pendant or ring. They can even use some of your old gold and diamond jewelry to create something new. At Boozers, you'll find a great selection of quality timepieces, and Boozers is the place for expert watch maintenance and repairs too. They specialize in expert Rolex watch repair for fine jewelry, watches, custom work, and more. Go to Boozers on Valley Mills and Lake Air Drive in Waco.
Boozers, the wedding ring store and more.
Baylor Scott and White Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, the team physicians for Baylor Athletics, diagnosing and treating all sports-related injuries, including concussions. These specialists also provide orthopedic services for athletes and non-athletes alike, whether it's knee or shoulder pain, hand or wrist injuries, orthopedic spine care, and even an arthritis and total joint clinic. Trust the doctors Baylor Athletics trusts. Baylor Scott and White Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics wants to get you back in the game.
The thing about having a naked truck is that you get exposed for the equipment you don't have. Take, for example, your rear end. If you don't have anything back there, you're exposed about what you don't have, and that's a life. However, if you cover that rear end with a hitch, you're telling the world, hey, I got a little junk in my bed, and I'm ready to pull something. A camper, RV, boat, trailer, jet skis, heck, even a bike rack. A hitch says, I have a life beyond driving my truck to and from work. And Pickup Outfitters is the place to get a hitch for your truck, SUV, van, even some cars. We sell and install just about any kind of hitch you need. Receiver hitches from light to heavyweight to pull just about anything. And gooseneck hitches and fifth wheels when you're ready to pull the heavy stuff. And don't forget trailer and brake controller wiring. It's so important to have wiring professionally and correctly installed by the pros at Pickup Outfitters. So it's time to cover that gaping hole in the rear end of your truck with a hitch installed by Pickup Outfitters. Check us out online at createacommotion.com.
Three Nations Brewing Company has 16 different beers on draft with a new beer every Friday. It also offers 2 air-conditioned tap rooms, a large indoor beer hall, a second-floor mezzanine offering a great overview of the brewing company and equipment and patio where you can relax under the shade. Plus, you can now experience the new Three Nations Beer Garden Grill on our shaded patio with socially distanced seating for your enjoyment. Grab a cold beer and enjoy a bite from our freshly prepared and delicious menu. Street tacos, quesadillas, freshly cooked burgers and dogs and veggie burgers too. State Fair tornado fries, nachos, and so much more, all prepared and cooked on site. So come visit the award-winning Three Nations Brewing Company on East Vandergrift off I-35 in Carrollton.
Life is back on, sports bettors, and BetUS has your NBA, NHL, Major League Baseball, UFC, PGA, and yes, NFL betting lines up for their 27th year and live betting on all of it. Log into BetUS.com or call 800-792-3887. That's 800-79-BETUS. BetUS for 125% bonuses with promo code SICK'EM125. Customer service pros are ready to get your phone, social, and online sports betting kickoff started now. Play with the proven mainstay in the industry. BetUS. You bet, you win, you get paid. BetUS.com. Use promo code SICK'EM125.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio. Have you subscribed to our YouTube channel? Search 365 Sports on YouTube.
All right, back here to wrap up our pregame. Baylor and Texas State just after 6 o'clock in San Marcos. From Matt McBrayer, what are your thoughts on Hudson Card for Texas right now? He's looked mediocre in my opinion. I think he's looked pretty good, kind of driving the bus. He's picked up a couple of plays with his feet, mobile enough. He's got to have some help around him. It's 14-6, early third quarter. Texas leads Louisiana.
Yeah, he just showed some great elusiveness there. He's able to run the football a little bit. He's going to be dangerous in that regard. Lafayette able to bottle him up when he looked like he was going to squirt to the outside. But, yeah, he's dangerous. He's very confident out there. He looks like he's fully in control. Doesn't look like a newcomer by any means. And obviously having a guy like Bijan Robinson there to basically pick up 5 yards a pop has been a nice safety net for him. And Robinson looks good. Card looks good. UT's defense has played pretty well. So, yeah, we'll see.
All right. Also, 13-10, Iowa State early third against Northern Iowa. And as I mentioned, that game, Texas 14-6. Louisiana kicked a field goal at the end of the first half. All right, Paul, your thoughts about what happens tonight?
I think Baylor comes out. I don't expect the offense to be glittering and shiny. I expect it to be maybe a little bit of a rough draft, but I expect to see some positive things. I think they win. I think they win comfortably. I think Texas State's got more problems than they have solutions right now, and it's a good first opponent for Baylor. And I think they come away probably winning by 17 or so.
Yeah, I'll take Baylor. I think it might take them a little while to separate themselves, but I do think they should win this football game. Very curious to see how the offense looks and how good the defense, how sharp they are from the outset. But if they're, late fourth quarter and dependent on a score to win the game or something like that would be surprising to me, and that would also be a massive disappointment. So a comfortable win when all is said and done. Just stay healthy and show some improvement in every area. I mean, you've had this full off season now. You should be better in every regard. You didn't lose anybody that should cause one position to suddenly be, a weak point. I mean, the weak points from last year are the weak points for this year. So I expect you should see improvement across the board.
All right, I say 31-17. I don't know if that means that you scored a couple late to pull away or you led. They scored 31 points. I don't care who it's against. We'll see if that can even happen. I really don't know what to expect. I said that on the chat room. I don't know what to expect until we see what Jeff Grimes is going to do with that offense. And I hope for Gary Bohannon's sake that he has a very clean game. But we'll see what happens with that. Now, a couple of updates. Alabama now. Let's see. It's 41-13 at the end of the third quarter against Miami. Texas is about to score, and they did 21-6, and it was a third down and long pass from Card that kicked them out, that kind of kick-started that drive.
That's the story of this game is third downs. Texas has been nearly perfect on third down. Lafayette, I don't think they've converted a third down, and if they have, I don't think they have. This was Texas' first drive, so yeah, I think Lafayette's 0 on third down. So that's an area where Texas is killing them and taking advantage. And yeah, now they've got a comfortable lead because Louisiana's offense hasn't done much today.
One more note from Doug Halsell. Big 12 did the right thing to add the 4. They should now do their homework on who is next, but not invite anyone else until the next Pac-12 grant of rights deal is done. G5s aren't going anywhere if needed.
I mean, that's a good point. Yeah, maybe they just wait a little while in this second round, if there is a second round, of course, but it sounds like there might be. And, I don't think there's a rush to add another group of teams right away.
Thanks to Avion Edwards, Josh Malin, Blake Blackmar, and the beautiful, unbelievable cooker he's got with the barbecue. Spencer Drango's in the house. Trevor Cooper, a couple of former Baylor coaches. Also, thanks to Kristen for being here on Brian's birthday. What a great treat it's got to be for him. And also Julie for being here as well in the studio. JD and Paul will have the postgame following Baylor. Brian and Blake Blackmar, I can't wait to watch halftime when they update whatever's happening here on the studio set. Jack McKenzie, thanks for being here today. For Craig Smoak and Paul Catalina, I'm David Smoak.
We'll talk to you on Tuesday.
We'll see you Tuesday at 3 o'clock on Sikkim 365 Radio.